Hey, for Thursday, July 30th, 2020, this is the Pro and Con Show. I'm your host, Michael James. Welcome to the show. As always, welcome to the show. Purpose of the show is to encourage us to be better citizens, which, listening to each other, we've got to get past this agonism, it's called. So this warrior stance that these two political parties, which you and I have kind of failed each other in allowing them to run our lives. We've got to get away from this, Hatfield and McCoy's kind of thing. We've got to step into something that's more appropriate for thinking, reasonable adults, and that is to realize that the issues that face us are complex, and they warrant considerable thought and consideration and understanding and study. And this is the thing that we don't do in this country, okay? And we should have November of 2020 is going to be a racism month or something like that, and we're going to study the history of racism and the impact on various minorities, and why it exists, and get some various experts about the human psychology and economic impact, and talk about slavery and on and on and on, and human behavior, and why humans sometimes select someone that doesn't look like them or sound like them for specific bias and abuse, if you will, all those kinds of things. And then step by step we have an understanding, right? We talk about the history and where it comes from, and then we talk about good and bad things, and then what things do we think are bad, and how do we we ask ourselves how we try to mitigate or minimize or eliminate those, and whatever positives, how do we build those things up? For example, for many years there was this I'm not going to remember it now. But there was a program that intentionally tried to give opportunity to people of minority, and the name of it escapes me at this second. I hate that when that happens. But anyway, and I think we've kind of gotten away from those programs existing anymore, but maybe we should reestablish them. In any case, okay, we talk about bad and good, and then the good things, whatever they were, whatever we think they are or should be, how do we build those up? And the bad things, how do we get rid of them? And there's going to be a lot of suggestions, and then we weigh those suggestions and figure out how to go forward together. It's what's done in many corporate environments around the country and around the world is figuring out the actual status of the environment, the marketplace or whatever, and then figuring out like a problem statement, and then figuring out potential solutions, and then selecting from those solutions the best ones, and then implementing them, and then see where it goes, evaluating them, and then come back at some period of time later and go through the process again. But in any case, today's show is called Sailing, and what made me want to do a show, just to comment and talk about sailing, is my own personal love for sailing. And what made me think of it is I live in Hudson, Wisconsin, which is right on the St. Croix River. And there's a marina and a little boat ramp and stuff right in the downtown area. And today's a lovely day in Hudson, Wisconsin. And as I was driving past, and I saw right there on the water's edge, there was like a dozen of these sailboats. And they remind me, and I don't know, I didn't go over there, but I assume that there's some kind of training program, because they were all very consistent, and they were of the type, because back when I was a young man, back when I was in the Navy, and I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina, there was a period of time where I had the time to actually take sailing lessons, and I got certified to be, a sailor of, I think it was 13-foot and smaller craft. So I had a certificate at one time because I had gone through whatever weeks of training and been certified by the instructor that I was a competent captain of, I think, a 13-foot and less, size craft. And that basically is what these things looked like, was very similar craft to those. And it reminded me of those glorious days, not only of some youth, but the sailing. Oh, it was so glorious. And I know you're going to say to me, what does this have to do with us being better citizens? Well, here it is. And I've said this before. I've alluded to it before. But you and I, because of the two-party system, because the Democrats, the liberals, generally lean left, and there's certain, programs and things and beliefs that, and some of them can be quite extended from what normal people would want. And the same thing on the right. There's certain beliefs and things, and then some of those can be, they can be way right? And what happens is these two political parties, because you and I have been, frankly, too lazy to do a better job being citizens, we've allowed these two parties to exist and run our lives and to define things in this way, so that, but all along, you and I knowing that most of us kind of want to do the centrist thing. And okay, some of us are a little bit right-leaning of that center, and some of us are a little bit left-leaning of the center, and some of us are truly centrist. We just want to go down the center. But what happens is, because of the parties and the way that they operate and how people are selected, you end up with people that are outside of that centrist view, and programs and stuff that are outside of that centrist lane. And so what do? Well, as Americans, we end up tacking. Okay, so if you're headed into a headwind, and this is in sailing, the thing that I hated the most, I didn't hate it because I loved all sailing, but I liked less, was going into the wind. Because you couldn't go where you wanted to go. You had to go left of where you wanted to go, and then you went right of where you wanted to go, and then you went left of where you wanted to go, and then you went right to where you wanted to go. Sound familiar? Sound like we've been oscillating between Republican and Democrat in the houses, in the legislature, in the Supreme Court, in the White House. Does it sound familiar? Sound familiar at all? Like we've been going Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, left, conservative, liberal, conservative. Huh? Sound familiar? We wanted to go down the center, and we can't go because our politics and the way we select people won't let us. And that's why I talk about sailing. And trust me when I say this, and that's why one of the things is say, I wish you fair weather and following seas. What does that mean? Well, it means that the wind is behind you. So wherever it is that you want to go, I want to go over there. Where it is that you want to go, is the wind is to your back and it pushes you forward. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If we were to eliminate the two-party system and grab hold of this citizen statesman program that I've been talking about, or some similar thing, someone has a better suggestion, I'm all for it. But something where we get away from this two parties and their rhetoric and propaganda around left and right, and fascist versus what's it called, alt left, or all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, the kinds of terms and terminology and all that stuff that we are allowing all of us to be labeled with. Because honestly, I've talked to you folks I've talked to not hundreds of thousands, thousands of people anyway. I've talked to thousands of people, many thousands of people over my lifetime. And trust me when I say this, most of us are mostly centrists. And yes, some of us are more left-leaning and some of us are a little bit more right-leaning, but mostly centrists. And we could fill that great structure that the guys put together there in Philadelphia 250 years ago or whatever, fill that great structure with great people if we would change considerably the way that we find and elect our officials that go into those positions. Anyway, that's sailing for today. I'm Michael James Ott for the Pro and Con Show. Until the next show, bye for now.